About 2 years ago, I was appointed artist in association in Drogheda Art Centre in Drogheda, which is my hometown. And I took on a project, basically, something I'd always wanted to do was to write a song cycle based on stories and the history of Drogheda Port. Very major and very old port in Drogheda. Drogheda was the second biggest famine port in the 1840s, and its main route was to Liverpool. And so both people and food in massive quantities would be sent over to Liverpool on a regular basis. And then from Liverpool, some people would travel on to Newfoundland or whatever to get to the US and Canada. So that there's a first-hand account that I read, a newspaper article from the 1840s. And it described, like a lot of people would have come from the west as well, from Connacht, and, you know, and would make their way over to Drogheda to get the ship to Liverpool. Yeah. And there's a lot more to it. You know, once you get into it, like, a lot happened, a lot changed politically and socially within just a few years. You know, the shipping company started to behave differently with the influx of people coming in, and Liverpool Port started to behave differently because a lot of sick people were coming over, and, you know, there's a huge amount in that. But I was very struck by this idea, I suppose, that you had people who were completely destitute on board, and under their feet were mountains of you know, eggs and milk and pigs and cattle.
There is a ship down on the quay, sails Judea at noon, work waiting for me, and a berth for Liverpool. If I thought that you would wait for me, I would be happier to go. But I've been fooled before by kisses sweet and a soft word whispered. Oh, there will be too much time to think on the wine dark angry foam, the soft fingers of doubt. Will you wait? Will you roam? And did I offer love far too fast, or maybe not quite quick enough? Either way, it's too late now. My heart is in your hands. Be you gentle, be you warm. 'Cause it's the little things that give you away. Even you can't believe half of what you say. And real love would only get in your way. People like you, I should have known. You don't really fall in love, and your heart remains your own. It's the little things that gives you away. Even you can't believe half of what you say. And real love would only get in your way.
I mean, I'm not an expert on Liverpool per se, but certainly anything we've come across, like, there has to be, when you consider the sheer volume of people who travelled there in a very short period of time. I read a really interesting thing a while back, actually, where this scholar was saying that he thought that Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights, he's picked up in Liverpool. That's where the father adopts him from. And he has all the characteristics of how, a Victorian or a Georgian author in England would have seen Irish people. He's dark, he's kind of mysterious, he's got curly hair, he's moody, he's a little bit dangerous. And his argument was that Heathcliff has to have been an Irish kid who they picked up in Liverpool, because it was teeming with kids, and there were plenty of kids there with nobody with them too. So I thought that's a really interesting. If Heathcliff was Irish, that would be very interesting.
John Cleveland is the master of the porcupine. He's been halfway round the world and back again, through storms and mutinies and everything. Johnny's pulled his crew through. Johnny's got a girl at home called Sarah Lou. She is serious and smart and steadfast and true, and she doesn't take shit from Johnny or his crew. And she hates the porcupine. She said,
if someday that ship goes down and you don't come home to me, I'll find you, I swear. You'll hear my voice on the window summer.
now the porcupine has run aground in shallow seas, and the crew is all praying, all down on their knees, for a current or a breath of wind to set them free. But Johnny's not worried at all. He lies in his bunk and thinks of Sarah Lou, and he knows she's the talisman that gets him through. She waits impatiently for word or news, and Johnny won't dare let her down. She said,
if someday that ship goes down and you don't come home to me, I'll find you, I swear. You'll hear my voice on the wind all summer.
calmed is nothing, he says to his first mate, compared to what awaits us all if we are late. So get up off your knees, boys, and own your fate, 'cause we've got work to do.
If one day that ship goes down and you don't come home to me, I'll find you, I swear. You'll hear my voice on the wind all summer. I'll find you, I swear. You'll hear my voice on the wind all summer.
John Cleveland is the master of the porcupine. He's been halfway round the world and he's come back again.
I see rats in the water and crows on the quay, and mothers with stones where their hearts used to be. I see children so skinny they ought to blow down, all for the sailing tomorrow. And the dead have moved in like a wave of the sea, like a plague or a tempest or a swarm of old fleas. And they crowd on the quays and I like to fall in, all for the sailing tomorrow. And the shippers are raking the coin from the hands of the peasant stream flowing from the vales of the land. There's a waving of hankies and hats on the shore. You'll never see your loved ones more, brothers and sisters, lovers and friends, running madly along the ship on the strand. It's a daily occurrence, so horrid and cruel, from Drogheda port to Liverpool. And the lucky ones root with the cattle and pigs. Oh, the youngsters of Connacht have seen nothing so big as a poor town so heaving with humanity, all for the sailing tomorrow. And the shippers are raking the coin from the hands of the peasant stream flowing from the vales of the land. There's a waving of hankies and hats on the shore. You'll never see your loved ones more, brothers and sisters, lovers and friends, running madly along with the ship on the strand. It's a daily occurrence, so horrid and cruel, from Drogheda port to Liverpool. Are you turning your face out of mercy or shame, or a sense of injustice, or is it all the same? One way or the other we all must report, all for the sailing tomorrow.
Yeah, so there was a small brig carrying coal from Newport, which tried to dock at Drogheda during a horrendous storm. It's in the late 19th century, and there was a lifeboat station just outside Drogheda in Queensborough and Baltray, but they couldn't get a full muster of men to go out. Those lifeboats, they would have been hand rowed, would have maybe crewed maybe 7 or 8 people. They could only get 3 or 4. They had to decide, will we go out and try to help this boat, or what we do? So they went out okay, but really undermanned, and they couldn't reach it. The sailors on the brig had climbed up the rigging to try and escaped the sea, but it went down eventually, and they lost all hands bar one who actually managed to swim ashore on the other side of the river from Bettystown. But the lifeboat crew, I had 2 newspaper articles, and one was about this brave lifeboat crew who had gone out and done their best, but had to turn back. I could, like, within earshot of the men still on the boat, had to turn back because they. But a couple of weeks later, then the harbour board, who would have been in control of that, had decided that these guys, this Captain Fackrell, who was in charge of that lifeboat, was a coward, was a disgrace. They hadn't tried hard enough, so the men were villainised. And I thought, that's a story there. It's not just the story of the ship and the lifeboat. It's the story of what happened to those guys then. I can't imagine how that would.
Let me tell you a story with an unhappy ending of the brig Manly and its crew. The storm was raging, the likes of which we'd never seen before, around our lifeboat station, and we were called to the fray. We mustered at station, we answered the call, and we rode into the dark and the howling gale. There were 3 on our crew that night. We were 3 miles from Queensborough. We were 3 minutes from our fate when the captain called. The brig Manly, badly beaten in the wind, bruised and shaken, had run aground on its lee. The crew in blind panic had shinned the rigging to escape the grasping hands of the furious sea. We heard them calling from the ratlines and shrouds, but we just couldn't fight the vicious tide. There were 3 on our crew that night. We were 3 miles from Queensborough. We were 3 minutes from our fate when the captain called. Turn around, boys, the tide's too strong. Turn around, boys, this feels all wrong. Turn around, boys, we'll perish here. Turn around, boys, there's no shame in fear. Turn around with everything you've got. Turn around. And the voices faded as with heavy hearts we made our way home, and the brig surrendered its crew to the sea. And they cursed us for cowards in the streets and in the papers, and the harbour board called for our redundancy. I still hear those voices whenever I rest, and I wake up calling. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. There were 3 on our crew that night. We were 3 miles from Queensborough. We were 3 minutes from our fate when the captain called, turn around.
So, yeah, the thing about Carol Keogh is that she's like voices. Like my voice does certain things well, and the certain things it doesn't do at all well. Right? Like I can't sing anything happy or upbeat, or it just sounds ridiculous, and mournful, and doleful. But I've got quite a good storytelling voice, so you kind of get to know that after a while. But Carol is able to, she can burn some real anger in her voice, or she can tell a story in a very authoritative way, or she can tell a story in a very kind of empathetic way, you know, or she can just create this incredible gossamer, beautiful tone from her voice. She's an amazingly, she's just got a very flexible approach to what she does, and she can respond to a song. But I just think she has just an extraordinarily engaging voice, you know, and it's amazing. Like when you write a song and she brings that to it, you know, it puts it into a whole different thing. Like, she's an amazing singer.
Dear reader, just last week we had some sad news to relay. With loss of goods and souls aboard, 3 ships had cast away. But happily we now report these losses to be small. In fact, only 1 ship lost souls on the island of St. Paul. This ship had sailed from Ireland, some northeastern seaport town. 160 souls aboard, all dreaming of renown. An English square-rigged brigantine, Isabella she was called. Well, 8 poor souls will dream no more on the island of St. Paul. Far from southwest light she was, on the island's western side, where many vessel's gone aground and many sailors died. Maybe she was fog blind or caught up in a squall, or maybe the ghost of the sea claimed her for the island of St. Paul. Some were picked up in a boat, some made it to shore, their ship lost to the rocks and to the ocean's angry roar. They listened for a passing ship or a loved one's lonesome call, but the wind carries only seagulls' cries on the island of St. Paul. In the North Atlantic, on an island grey and plain, the wind sings in the lichen for the memory of the a slave. Many a ship has cast away before she's made landfall. In the graveyard of the Gulf we know as the island of St. Paul.
Maybe